In this video, we're going to look at our class settings. Previously, we set up classes, we've added classes to our gradebook. Let's take a closer look at the options that are available so you can manage your gradebook properly. All right, I will click on My Classes. Let's look at our social studies class. We have 15 students enrolled in this class. I'm going to go down to the end and click on Settings. This is the class settings menu. You can see there are a number of options available. Let's go through each item quickly. Your basic settings are the items that you set up when you created the class, your rounding options, your class title, so you can adjust these items as you need to. You can change your class credit hours or GPA scale. So that's a way to get at those core structural setup items. Let's go back to the main menu. Your roster, let's talk about adding students to your class and managing your students. I currently have students already enrolled in this class. I can withdraw a student if I need to. That's a nice way to stop activity for that particular student, but it preserves the records that are on file for that student. So it automatically stops all activity, and this class is removed from that particular student's report card. After you withdraw a student, you can reinstate if you need to. And then, of course, you can delete a student from a class, and that erases all assignment scores, so the student is completely removed from the class records. So at the beginning of the school year, you can do that fairly safely. As you move through the school year, you have to be a little bit more careful about deleting students from a class. Now, how do we add students? You'll click here, Add Students, very easy. You can find your students by grade level or by homeroom. Let's go ahead and select a homeroom here. And you can see it displays students for a particular homeroom, and you can add that student to the class one at a time if you need to, or you can enroll all students in a particular homeroom or grade level. So you can mix and match your class role as you need to. Any student in the school building can participate in a class. All right, let's go back to our class settings. You can print a seating chart if you need to. I won't bother showing you that. Let's talk about our assignment categories. When you created the class, it automatically generated 3 categories for you. You have classwork, homework, and tests. You can delete a category if you need to, and you can add a category as you need to. So when you create your assignments, you will be selecting a category that an assignment falls into. All right, now the reason we do this has to do with weighted categories. Not everyone uses weighted categories, but we have to have the structure in place in order to accommodate weighted categories if you decided to utilize that. So I do want to take a minute here to look at our calculation settings and discuss weighted categories. All right, calculation settings. You can see by default that your class has standard averaging set up for each term. That's the preferred method to calculate term grades. It basically just averages up how many points a student has earned divided by the total possible points, comes up with a percentage, and that is your student's grade. Very easy, very manageable. If you are an experienced teacher and you're comfortable using weighted categories, we do accommodate that. It has to be set up on a term-by-term basis, so we can have settings for one quarter and then change it the next if you need to. But let's go ahead and just pretend we're going to use weighted categories for term 1. We'll click on weighted categories, and it says needs attention, and that's because we need to go into that term and set up our category weights. Let's go ahead and look at that. You can see it has my assignment categories, and right now the percentages are not established. So let's say your classwork is going to be 25% of a student's grade. I want homework to be 25% of the student's grade, and I want tests to be 50% of the student grade. So we would click check total, and it says 100%. It must match 100% by the time you're done entering all of your percentages. Okay, so that's how you establish category weights if you choose to use that. I could discuss at length why I don't recommend that, but again, if that's something that you're comfortable with, you can certainly use that on a term-by-term basis. All right, let's go back to our class settings here. So we looked at categories and then we jumped to calculations from there. So we've already covered these two categories. Now you can go into your term grades and you can override term grades. This is something to be aware of. I get asked this quite a bit. I have a student, a particular situation, I want to go in and change their term grade. You can do that right here on this page. Very easy. You would click override and you can plug in the term grade as you need to. Pretty straightforward. All right, let's go back to the class settings menu. So we looked at term grades and overriding term grades. I do want to mention changing a teacher. So there comes a time once in a while where you need to take your class and move it to a new teacher. Sometimes there are changes for whatever reason, and you can do that right here. You can say, I'm not going to be the teacher of this class anymore. Instead, we're going to select a different teacher. Okay, and then finally you can delete the class if you need to. Of course, you wouldn't do this later in the school year after you have assignments on file and grades are on file. But at the beginning of the school year, when you're getting your grade book set up, you can delete a class after you've played around with it and started setting up classes. Okay, so that's kind of a good look at our class settings and all of the options that are available to you.